Hey everyone, welcome back to K-Korner, the channel where we dive into the wild world of entitled people and their unbelievable stories. Hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, let's go. I ran a marathon recently. I was stationed at the finish line right in front of the medical tent. Anyone in need of medical attention could go straight from the finish area to the medical tent, and I helped guide them there. The hospitality area, with food, drink, and other vendors, was also near the finish line. To get there, runners had to go to the exit, which was past the medical tent. After that, they went to the other side of the medical tent and arrived at the hospitality area. This route took about 30 seconds longer than cutting through in front of the medical tent area. There was a fence separating the medical area from the hospitality area, manned by other staff to make sure that regular folks did not cut through. Staff were allowed through, though. Keeping the medical area uncrowded makes it easier for people to get the medical attention they need. One of the things I did was to screen runners. Anyone needing medical attention I sent to the medical tent, while those going anywhere else I directed to the exit. Some runners, seeing what they thought was a more direct route to the hospitality area, wanted to cut through the medical tent area. After confirming they did not need medical attention, I directed them to the exit, politely and professionally. Almost everyone was fine with that, but not this one woman. 5.5 hours after the start of the marathon, after nearly all the other runners had finished, an entitled woman tried to cut through. I told her, politely and professionally, the exit was that way. But I just ran 26 miles, she whined. Yes, and the exit is that way, I said, or something like that. She tried to make her case, but I did not yield. Eventually, she pouted. Here are my mental responses to her. I just ran 26 miles. Are you sure that ran is the right word here? Yes, and so did thousands of other people. They all went around. What makes you so special that you need to take a shortcut? Congratulations. Are your legs going to fall off if you walk another 50 yards now? Sheesh. I, 24F, celebrated my birthday earlier this year. From my 18th birthday until now, something has always happened on my birthday that ends up ruining the day for me. I made it a point this year to plan do things I enjoyed on my day. I ended up renting an Airbnb by the lake about an hour away from where I was living. I invited about 8 people to come spend the weekend there with me. My birthday was on a Sunday. I had Airbnb from Friday night to Monday morning. My friends and I had made plans for Friday and Saturday, but what I was most excited for was Sunday, my actual birthday. I decided I wanted to have a cookout, get drunk, smoke, and just have a good time. My friends and I made a menu. We planned who was cooking what, and I even invited a few other people to come drop by for the day. I was excited. Everything was going good. Early on Sunday, my brother, 37M, called me to wish me a happy birthday. Now, me and my brother have a very iffy relationship. I have 2 brothers, but I'm only on speaking terms with one. Both of my brothers are drug addicts with mental health issues that are fueled by drug addiction. My brother that called me has been in and out of jails, rehabs, psych wards since I was 10. This has taken a huge toll on me, my family, and as a result, me and my brother have had periods where we do not speak for years. However, when he had called me on my birthday, we were in an okay place. He asked me what I had planned, and I told him I had rented an Airbnb and my friends and I were cooking out. Instantly, I realized that was a bad idea once he took that as an opportunity to invite himself. He kept asking for the address. I first let him know that all of my friends were under the age of 26, so he'd be out of place there. He still insisted on coming. Then I was brutally honest and told my brother I didn't want him to come and ruin my birthday. My brother's current doc was definitely alcohol. He was doing other things, but was also mixing that with getting drunk every day. And when my brother drinks and does drugs, he ruins things. He, however, promised me that he wouldn't say anything to upset me and he wouldn't drink too much. I tried for about 30 minutes to get him not to come, but he continued to insist, and at that point I just wanted to start enjoying my day, so I sent him the address and told him to let me know when he was on the way. I start cooking by the time my brother calls to let me know he's coming. He says his friend is bringing him coming with him.
Strike one. My brother has only other drug addict friends who are his age, so I just knew this was going to be an issue.
While cooking, I noticed we didn't purchase enough hamburger buns, and we had to cheese for the burgers, so I asked my brother if he could stop on the way and pick some up. He tells me to send him $20 for the groceries. Strike 2. When he arrives, he immediately gets out of the car, and I can tell he's already been drinking. He's slurring, but he's in decent spirits, so I let it go. I meet his friend, who is exactly what I described above, and I take them inside to meet my friends. My brother asks where the drinks are, and I show him the bottles in the fridge and ask if he needed me to pour him a drink. To which I do. Keep in mind we had maybe 4 bottles left at the time, 2 communal bottles. 1 bottle that was one of my friends, 1 bottle that was mine. I specifically has clear Casamigos for myself because I knew nobody else drank that, but it was my birthday, so I got what I wanted. I poured my brother a drink out of this bottle. This was also the first drink from that bottle I poured that day. I had been cooking, so I didn't even have an opportunity to start drinking yet. Also, I get it, he's an alcoholic, why was I feeding him alcohol? He's a grown man. That's all I have to say about that. Everybody goes out back to smoke and I hear my brother walk out back. He then proceeds to tell my friends, I don't smoke, but my friend does. Make sure y'all pass him the J while it's in motion. Neither him nor his friend brought any weed to match J's. My brother expected my friends to smoke his friend out for free. Strike 3, and I told my friends definitely not. My brother then starts making little comments about my outfit. Strike 4. He starts telling me I need to go change because my outfit is too revealing, and he won't drop it. I keep letting him know this is my birthday and my airbound. He did not have to be here. That his comments were unnecessary and a vibe killer. He continued. He then started making comments about my boyfriend, Strike 5, who had ran out to go grab something for me. My brother isn't a fan of my boyfriend, but I don't really care. My brother has no authoritative power over me to tell me anything about anyone. I reminded him before he came he promised he wouldn't be any trouble. He said as my big brother he's allowed to say what he wants. This turned into a big argument where I let him know he had one more time to upset me on my birthday, and he would have to leave. He told me I couldn't kick him out. LOL, my friends consisted of 5 dudes who all were just waiting for the okay to put my brother out. We continued arguing until some of my friends calmed me down, and I went outside with them to smoke. I come back inside to go take a drink, because I need it, and my entire bottle of Casamigos was empty. I mean, it went from a full bottle to not even a sip left in less than an hour. Strike 6. I immediately start flipping out, and I find my brother and start going in on him. About how he's been nothing but a nuisance since he called this morning, how this is why I hate hanging out with him and inviting him places. And then on top of that, all I wanted for my birthday was my bottle, and he decided to finish the entire thing. His only defense was that there were 3 other bottles in the fridge and he didn't think it was that big of a deal. How I know how high his alcohol tolerance is and how that tiny drink I poured didn't do anything, and he was just trying to calm down from our previous argument. Then he said, and I quote, "Can't your friends just buy you another one?" It was a Sunday. I live in a state that doesn't serve alcohol on Sundays, and on top of that, the Airbnb was in the middle of nowhere. At that point, I absolutely lost it. I told him he had to leave, and if he didn't leave, my friends were putting him out. I called his girlfriend and told her she needed to tell my brother to Kiev before things got ugly. His friend tried to plead his case while my brother sat in the car saying nothing to me, but I wasn't hearing it. I literally wouldn't stop yelling until they were off the property. Once they left, I cried. So hard. It was the audacity for me. I cried, let it out, and had a kick-ass rest of my birthday. When my boyfriend got back, he heard about the bottle and but he left for an hour and a half and came back with an entire crate of alcohol. Not Casamigos, but I still really appreciated the effort. The food was bomb. My friends showed me so much love, and I didn't speak to my brother for months. He refused to apologize because he didn't think he did anything wrong. He thought I was unfairly picking on him because of our history. A little bit of context, it was a few days after I worked in a big event. This event was 4 days of thousands of people crammed together in the heat of July, so it was noisy, sweaty, and freaking exhausting. I'm a big introvert, so this event literally crushes me every year. Because of that, I always take at least a week break right after to rest both physically and emotionally. I was staying with a friend who worked at home and who was stressed because she needed to buy something urgently and didn't have time due to her work. So I proposed to go buy what she needed myself and to take the occasion to do a little bit of shopping for me. I'm a woman, and at the time, I was around 26, 27 years old, and the events took place in Paris, France. So fast forward a bit, it was the middle of the day. I found pretty easily what my friend needed, and the mall was quiet and nice, so I visited a few stores and bought a few more items. After maybe 30, 40 minutes, I started to feel drained again, so I decided to do one last store before leaving. It's a store where you can find all kinds of stuff at really cheap prices, so I grabbed a few items and went to the cashiers. Since it's a quiet day, there is only one cashier open, and the lady at the desk is clearly a student with very little experience. She was extremely slow and stressed, and I was surprised that she was left unsupervised. I've worked in a shop for 4 years, and we would never leave a new student alone like that. There were 4 people in front of me, and it was moving really slowly, so I took a big breath and tried to calm myself while thinking I'm on holiday. Everything is fine. No need to stress. Yada yada. It was really time for me to go home. Not long after, a woman with a stroller and a shopping cart, both full of items and 4 kids in tow, started queuing behind me. The woman was a typical Karen, big sunglasses inside, short hair, tiger pattern tight shirt, etc. She also had the attitude, "Don't mess with me." But I started to worry a bit because each kid, approx between 3 and 10 years old, had a gift paper roll in hand, and the 2 youngest were already swinging their own like it was a sword. It didn't take long to feel a small hit on the back of my legs, and I turned over to try to catch the attention of the mom, but she had left her tribe and her items to look at the closest aisle. At that point, I'm begging in silence to the cashier to go faster because I'm drained and I won't be capable of holding much longer if I'm hit non-stop, even by young kids. I'm moving a little bit forward to leave more space between me and the kids behind, but I'm still in the queue so I can't move a lot. After a few hits, I heard the oldest kid scolding his siblings and telling them to stop, to not break the paper roll or hit someone. They stopped except the youngest 3-0, who didn't listen at all and continued even stronger. Since the oldest kept trying without success, I looked over at the mom to see if she intended to intervene. No, she seemed extremely concentrated on some items nearby. She was weirdly still, but since she wore big sunglasses, it was difficult for me to see if she was paying attention or not. This kept going for several minutes, and I stopped counting the number of hits I got from the 3 years old. At some point, the mom got back behind her cart and stroller and saw that the queue had moved forwards a bit, so she decided to put her cart right behind my butt. I'm not kidding, I couldn't move a centimeter or an inch without feeling the metal cart. That means that the kids got also closer. The oldest gave up to discipline his youngest brother or to have the attention of their moment. I tried as well to catch her eyes, but she was still doing her best to ignore her tribe and the people around her. Edit. I know that right now, you are wondering why I'm not talking to her. Like I said, I'm a big introvert. I hate conflict, and I was really drained and already on the verge of a meltdown. The hits were not strong or painful, they were freaking annoying. I knew that if I was going to intervene, I would probably yell at him, and I didn't want to because he was only 3U and didn't see that he was hitting me. And I really didn't want to deal with Karen's mom in my current mental state. I was doing all I could to be patient until I could reach the cashier, pay for my items, and leave the store without yelling or crying. And yep, that was a big mistake. The mom kept going closer and closer to me while her 3-0 was still hitting me on occasion. I tried several times to move away, but at this point I was too close to the person in front of me. It was an old lady, and she looked at me with a hum and a silent, "You are way too close." I said sorry to her and tried to show her that it wasn't really my intention, nor my fault. I tried one last time to have the mom's attention. She was still looking at the same aisle that before. I gave up, looked in front of me, and felt a stronger hit than before on my butt. I finally broke, turned over, grabbed the paper roll, and told firmly to the kid, "Could you please stop that now? You're hurting me." I need to point out that I didn't yell. I just used a firm voice. I didn't grab the paper roll away from him either. I just stopped him in his action because yes, he was going to hit me again, and I let go of the roll as soon as I had his attention. I know how 3 you can be, and I didn't want to scare him or anything. I just wanted him to stop. Of course, the kid started to cry immediately, and I sighed and said, "Look, I'm not yelling at you. I just want you to stop hitting me." I was stopped by a scream. "What are you doing to my son, you a-hole?" Looks like this time I got the mom's attention. She didn't let me explain anything. She yelled at me like a banshee. I tried to speak louder and finally managed to cover her screaming with he was hitting me non-stop with his paper roll. She stopped for a second, then laughed at me. And what? Of course, he's playing with his role. He's a baby. He's 3 years old. It's a baby, and you don't yell at a baby. You just let him play because he's a baby. I was taken aback because I never heard of something so crazy and said so because he's only 3. I'm supposed to let him hit me. What kind of education is that? She laughed again and said, hit you. Hit you. What kind of adult are you to be afraid of 3-year-olds' hits? You're just a whiny witch. This time I got red and said you can't let your kids hit people just because they're young. You're supposed to educate them. How dare you tell me how to educate my kid? I don't yell at my baby when they are playing. You don't hurt my baby because he's playing, to understand me? I hope you don't have kids. I hope you're infertile and will never have kids. You don't deserve to have any. This time I went blank and felt the tears coming up. I really do love kids and never wanted to hurt her child in any way. I'm unsure about having kids one day because of personal reasons, and it really hurt me. I didn't want to let her win by crying nervously in front of her, so I composed myself and said, well, if I have kids one day, I can assure you that I will be more aware of their education and make sure that they never hurt others, even while playing. She got red and started to insult me again in French local language and another language that I don't know. She was talking in full sentences in her language, and I couldn't follow a word. I finally said, look, I don't understand you. It's useless to speak to me in a language that I can't understand. I told you that your son was hurting me for a while and you ignored it all along. I didn't want to scold him. I just wanted him to stop. That was worse. She looked at me like she wanted to kill me and started to hit me with her cart. Because of the shock, I stumped the old lady behind me. I was completely stuck between the cart and the old woman, and I didn't want to get out of the way because I was afraid that the cart would hurt the old woman who didn't know what to do. So I held the cart strongly enough to stop Karen in fury, and I said, stop, you're going to hurt me, or the person behind. She didn't listen and hit even harder, yelling at me, leave or I swear I will kill you. Leave now. You better leave or I swear I will punch you and you will regret all this. How dare you hurt my baby? I will end you. Leave now. At that point, I felt unsafe and turned around towards the young cashier and said, can you please help me here? She's crazy. Can you call someone? But the cashier was just a young student. She was scared too and just said in a tiny voice, please ladies, stop arguing. And I was like, seriously? The other clients, including the old woman, moved out of our way and looked at me like it was all my fault. The crazy Karen started to smile because I didn't get any help and continued to hit me with her cart while I was holding it to not get hurt. I was stronger than her, but it wasn't easy to manage with my own items and shopping bags in hand. And I didn't want to escalate this even further by taking control of her cart and risking hurting her kids who were right next to her cart, because yes, I do care. She continued to yell at me to leave the store, and I yelled back, well, I can't leave. I have to pay, remember? I'm a customer too, and I have every right to stay in the queue and pay for my items. Or do you want to pay for it yourself? No, stop hitting me with your cart because I won't leave without my items, and if you continue, you will hurt someone. During this time, the cashier went a little bit faster to help the other customers, and it was finally my turn. I put my items on the desk and felt another small hit of the cart. I turned around and said, stop that if you want me to leave. I pay and I leave okay. No, stop that. She finally stopped but was still launching dagger at me and muttering that she was going to hurt me if I stayed close to her. She even said you're lucky that there are people around, when actually only the cashier was still there. I didn't have a lot of items, so it was quickly paid even though I still had the metal cart on my butt. I left quickly while the crazy Karen was still yelling insults and threats at me. Obviously, I didn't want to stay close, so I quickly went into a quiet quarter of the mall. Also because I went into a full panic attack. I found a hidden spot, sat directly on the ground, and tried desperately to calm myself. It was not my first time, so I waited until I could finally move and went back home. So, yeah, it was the worst shopping day ever, and my legs and hips were covered in bruises, but I admit that I still don't know how I should have reacted, and it still haunts me sometimes, especially when I think about having kids myself. Edit for the people who tell me, why didn't you fight back and push her cart towards her? because her 4 young kids were right next to her, and I would have hurt them in the process. I could also have hurt the old woman behind me if I'd moved aside. The kids were so young that they were smaller than the cart itself, so I don't need to draw you a picture of what could happen if they are hit by a big metal cart. I didn't let her bully me or run away. I kept my ground and kept the cart towards me to protect the other, more fragile people around. Besides, I don't think that escalating into a real fight would have changed anything or helped anyone. Edit 2. I changed a few sentences and words because it came to my attention that I wasn't using the right words in English. I was using punch instead of hit. Writing that kind of situation in another language can be really hard. So to reassure people, I was not beaten either by the kid or the moment. I wasn't hurt by their hits, it was just freaking annoying. I got bruises because that's what metal does to your body. I worked 4 years in a store with metal shelves, and my colleague and I were covered with bruises on the arms just because we were working and sometimes hitting the metal shelf. That's why I learned to be cautious about kids being near metal objects. It can really hurt them, even without any strength. Concerning the death threats Karen made, I actually wasn't scared. I really believed that she had just a big, stupid mouth. I didn't think that she was capable of really putting my life in danger. All I saw at the time was a crazy and hysterical woman, and it was best to put distance with her, like how you would do with a random alcoholic yelling in the street. I didn't run away because I was afraid I left because she was ruining my day and I needed time and silence to deal with my mental breakdown. And yes, I do have mental health issues. I'm fully aware of that, and I don't think I need to put more explanation. Like I said, I was already extremely mentally fragile at the time. And yes, 4 days of people and noise can do that to people, so it was just a really bad timing. Telling people with mental health issues just grow a spine is exactly the same as saying just be happy to someone who's depressed. It's stupid and insensitive. For a bit of context for non-Muslim readers, Friday prayers are like Sunday prayers for Muslims. Mosques are our version of a church. An imam is a priest for Muslims. So after doing my morning routine and taking a shower, I head out in order to reach the mosque before Friday prayer starts. So on the way there, I accidentally bump into this woman. I immediately said sorry. Then she went on to rant about how I should look at where I'm going. I said, sorry, again, but I have somewhere to be and I will be careful where I'm going. This wrong thing to say because she immediately started following me. But since the mosque was like a block away, I thought, well, if I enter, she might leave me alone. But this turned into a bad idea. Anyway, I enter the mosque and take off my shoes, and the next thing I see is her in the mosque on the carpet with shoes on. The lady came and told me I'm here for a proper apology. Then at that moment, I was like, for what? I gave you an apology already. Anyway, by that moment, the people in the mosque were starting to get concerned, and one of the imam asked the lady if it is possible that me, and the lady talk about this outside, since we are in a mosque. She then said no, and that she does not care, and that this looks house of a cult to yours. This shocked me and angered me and almost everyone in the mosque, but the imam asked everyone to keep calm. He then told the lady, please leave because you are causing a disturbance. She had the audacity to tell him not without an apology. He said that why would anyone want to give you an apology when you just disrespected everyone here? And please leave before I call the police, she then said, because you people are all nothing but damn dumbasses for following a cult like religion. At that point, someone in the mosque called the police. Only a few minutes later, the police came. While the imam was trying to manage the situation by making no one attack the Karen and trying to control the Karen from saying more screwed up racist crap. When the police came, Imam told them that this lady has tried to cause a riot in a mosque and distribute the peace. But Karen told the police I was only here because one of us bumped into her and just said sorry and left. The police were not having any of it and asked Karen to please leave or be forced out. Karen then said, you can't force me out because then I can sue you, so go for it. The police then cuffed her and forced her out. One of the police said, sorry you had to deal with this nut job and hopefully your morning prayers go smoothly. After Karen left, prayers started and everything went wild. Enjoying the stories yet? If you do, please subscribe, like, and comment. I'm almost in tears as I'm writing this because I'm so infuriated. My sister, 34, works full-time but has always been irresponsible about money. She has a lot of credit card debt, and there has been several times throughout the year that she has either asked me to borrow money or gone into debt. My mom passed away 3 years ago, and Mother's Day is a very difficult holiday. My dad is elderly, and the last year I was living with him, helping him full-time because he has health issues and otherwise would have to get a caregiver. Prior to that, I had given up my apartment and my job to move in with him as a temporary thing to help out. My dad paid me each month to help him, but nowhere near the amount of money that it would be to hire a professional caregiver. However, he wanted me to be able to get my independence back and be able to get a job again outside of him. So he helped me financially with getting an apartment last month because I've been helping him, which I much appreciated. I still am going over there and helping him several times a week with all of his meal prep, medical appointments, etc. Because I am job searching now, though, when I do get a job, obviously things will shift and he will need to get someone coming in to help. Because Mother's Day is a difficult day after the loss of my mom, my sister had suggested that just the two of us go out today to brunch and a movie. She had found a restaurant and pre-booked the movie tickets, which I paid her for. When we were at lunch, I asked the waiter to put it on separate checks. He ended up putting some of her items on mine because I think he was just confused of how to do it. And I said that's fine and just told her to send me through a cash app like Venmo the money. She kind of brushed it off and just told me she can't right now. I said I'm confused. If he had put the items on your check, you would be paying for it. And she said I asked Dad if I can use his card and pay him back. I can't pay you right now. I was getting increasingly annoyed about this because she knows I am living on a certain budget per month, a pretty low budget that my dad pays me in turn for helping him full time. She then proceeded to tell me that it's not my money anyway. She said, Dad is paying for your whole life. It's not your money. I was sickened by this comment because I help him full time and get payment in return. I don't ask her for any help, and she only helps him once in a while. She also has taken money in previous months out of my dad's account. There's a mutual account that's supposed to be used when we buy items for him. And has said it was by accident and told him that she would pay him back and still hasn't several times. Because she was going after me in terms of saying that it's not my money anyway. I said at least I don't steal from him. I clarified that there was a charge last month for $300 that clearly he knows was taken from him. She started to get rude in response and say that it was by accident and she didn't steal it. We left the restaurant and she didn't say a word to me. She headed towards the car instead of the movie theater. I told her if we are not going to the movie, I expect my money back since I already paid her for it. She ignored me and didn't say a word. We get back and she drops me at my car. I told her that I expect to be paid back and I'm not going to forget about it. She ignored me and didn't say anything. I'm beyond upset right now. Already it is a difficult day with the loss of my mom, but the fact that I basically fronted money for her and I feel as though she has no intention to pay me back, and she dismissed that it's even my money in the first place is infuriating. My dad has enabled her a lot, and I have tried to warn him that this continues to happen, and it's enabling. He's worried about getting out with her, so he gives her money when she needs it and doesn't ask questions. However, with me, if she had asked me in advance and said that she doesn't have money to go out today, but if I could pay for it, and she paid me back, I would have said yes. It's more the assumption that's getting me. This was many years ago when I was trying to break into the jazz scene as a singer in a new city I had moved to. I had shared some recordings of mine with a super talented musician and band leader who lived there, and based on that, he invited me to come out to one of their shows and sit in on a few songs. It was a great opportunity for me to perform in front of an audience of jazz lovers, and also to make music and connect with several really wonderful players. His guidelines were simple. Just pick 3 jazz standards that I thought I would shine on, and he and his band would back me on whatever I chose. I spent the week considering which songs would demonstrate my skill and also carry the most emotional impact, and I practiced them every day. That Friday night, I took extra time to try to look good, but I was still pretty nervous and self-conscious when I got to the crowded club. I literally knew nobody in this town. In a stroke of luck, someone left a little 2-seat table just as the band began, and I snagged it. During the break after the first set, the band leader came over to chat with me. He was a really nice guy and generous with his talents. He didn't need to let me sit in with his band. As a matter of fact, many people wouldn't have done it. I was really grateful to have met him and felt hopeful about the contacts I would make through him, but more importantly, I thought we might end up being friends. He told me that after the break they would play a few songs and then he would invite me up. He then went off to mingle with all the other people who wanted to talk to him. As soon as he got up, a woman slid into the seat that he had just vacated. She was tall and pretty, and she said that she heard that the band leader had invited me to sit in, that she was also a singer and she wanted to welcome me to town. "We chick singers have to stick together," she said with a beautiful smile. Could this night get any better? Here I was making another friend already. "What songs are you going to sing?" We chatted a bit and I told her what I had chosen and why. She was really charming. As the band took the stage, she excused herself to go back to the group of friends she was there with. She flashed that beautiful smile and told me with a wink that she was sure we'd see each other again real soon. The band finished the first song of the second set, and then the band leader called up the other woman that I just met. It was odd that she hadn't mentioned she was going to sing too, but I was glad I'd get a chance to hear her. I then sat there utterly shocked and dumbfounded as she proceeded to sing all three of the songs that I had prepared. I looked over and saw her friends looking back and forth between her and me, laughing. I was so stunned, mainly because never in 1,000 years would it occur to me to do something so crappy to another person, let alone a fellow musician. She literally came over to me and acted friendly to find out what songs I was singing so she could pull that stunt. "Welcome to your new town." I was so hurt and humiliated. She was at this point singing the third song directly to me to the great amusement of her friends. The band leader knew that something was up, but he had no idea what, and I hadn't told him what songs I would do. My brain was racing, trying to come up with a way to deal with the situation. And then it hit me. She was pretty good, but she wasn't that good. She was a little formulaic, a bit unoriginal. She was depending on her looks and presence or tricks she had learned in her voice lessons. She was technique, heavy and soul-lacking. In other words, she was baffling with nonsense. And I knew what I had to do. Her last song ended and she left the stage to generous applause from the audience and cheers from her table of friends. The band leader called me up. I handed him my lead sheets and whispered to him, "She stole my song. Please trust me on this. Let me do the same songs." Fortunately, he got it instantly and nodded with a little smile. And I sang the living hell out of those songs. I put every ounce of my training, but also my emotions, my angst, my fears, my longing, my loneliness, my joy. I wasn't even aware of the room, but for a moment between songs I glanced out to see her sitting there with her mouth hanging open and her friends now sitting still and silent. The room exploded when I finished, and I got a standing ovation.
Someone actually shouted out, "That's how you do it."
I honestly felt kind of bad for her, but I think she learned something that night. The band leader came up to me later and told me that he had wanted to teach her a lesson in humility for a long time, and thanked me for letting him be a part of it. I ended up living in that town for 5 years and became good friends with the band leader and many other musicians in town. I never got close with that other singer, but she never tried to pull something like that with me again, and I think she never tried it with anyone else either. I still think it was one of my best performances ever. 56 female, have an entitled older sister, 62 female. She has no friends except her crochet group. She has killed all her relationships with her toxicity except for her daughter. Our father has had to move into care. As his legal decision maker, I have the job of selling his property. Sister came to Dad's and indicated what item she wanted, including trying to claim an item willed to someone by my father. I told her she needed to arrange transport for things. She did nothing. I spoke to my father's solicitor to ask if I could use Dad's funds to pay for transportation. Sister hasn't worked full-time in more than 40 years and always cries poor. I arranged transport of stuff advised drop-off time, and she told me it needed to be delivered earlier because she had something on. I paid extra for earlier delivery, nearly $400. I've been unsuccessful in selling Dad's furniture, so have given it to people in need where I can. Sister finds out and demands more furniture if I am giving it away. I told her she would need to organize transport and that I couldn't assist with carrying her furniture due to shoulder injuries. She runs crying and bad-mouthing me to our cousin, so cousin says she and her husband will do the heavy lifting. Cousin, female 74, has a bad back and husband. Male 72, has dementia and has had several falls recently. I lost my tiny mind when I found out and refused to allow this. Now, my cousin is not speaking to me because we should help each other as family. Sister has been no contact with cousin for more than 20 years after accusing her of trying to steal sister's ex-husband. They've only reconnected because of Dad going into care. What the F? I feel like I am in an alternate reality. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more captivating stories. Share your own experiences, opinions in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay tuned for more epic tales.